Hello, my name is Luis Hess. This is my first live webinar. Please bear with me as we try to work out the kinks of this type of technology, and hopefully this will go as smoothly as I expect it to be. So, to give you a quick introduction, my name is Luis Hess. I am the owner of Hess Law. We primarily specialize in immigration, real estate, and business law, with some civil litigation as part of our practice. What I'm here to do today is provide a quick introduction as to how to immigrate, or how to do immigration through real estate investment. What I would like to focus on today is both the E2 visa and L1 visa. E2 visa is a treaty-based visa. That means that the United States has a treaty with whatever home country the potential applicant is from. So if you're from Canada, from Mexico, there's a treaty that allows somebody from Canada or from Mexico to come to the United States and get a non-immigrant visa. If you're from other countries such as India, there is no such visa available because there's no such treaty between the United States and India. In order to qualify for an E2 visa investment, you must invest at least $100,000 into the United States. But when we're talking about real estate investment, it's not just, the investment itself doesn't include your own home, it doesn't include homestead. What it means is that you're investing in multiple properties. We have been successful in getting E2 visas for clients who have purchased 4 or more properties. It can be apartments, it can be commercial properties, it can be residential homes. The homes have value. Easily $100,000 is something that most people are going to meet during that period of time as they're doing the investment. But what's more important is the quantity. And part of the reason is that you can hire additional people to help manage the property. You can hire a manager, you can hire maintenance people, you can hire multiple employees or contractors. And the reason that's important is part of the E2 visa investment requires that not only are you investing capital into the United States, but the investment itself is creating jobs. So if you can get 4 investment properties, excluding a home, and all of them, of course, be an aggregate total of more than $100,000, you can get an E2 visa that essentially is good for 1 to 5 years. You're going to find the visa validity period is going to be based on where the person's from. Somebody from Mexico is going to have a visa that's valid for 1 year versus somebody from Canada, well, their investment visa, if they get it, is good for 5 years. The great thing about an E2 investment visa is that once the beneficiary has a visa in hand, they can have their spouse can also work. So while the investor is limited to working within their own business, the spouse, once they receive their own work authorization, they can work wherever they want to, whether it's Exxon, whether it's DSW. There's no requirement whatsoever for the spouse to work, but if they choose to do so, they can. The great thing about the E2 investment visa as well is that it's renewable indefinitely for the life of the business, so long as there's the investments maintained, that the investor is continuously purchasing properties, continuing to grow their business, continue to hire employees or contractors to help maintain the property. The visa can be renewed indefinitely. So if you are an investor here in the United States in real estate investment, and let's say you're buying 1, 2, 3 or more properties per year, you can the investor and the spouse can continue to stay here for almost indefinitely. The closest thing essentially that you can get to a green card without actually getting to it. Other benefits of investing in real estate here in the United States is that the real estate assets will continue to increase in value. For the most part, especially here in Texas, proper real estate value, whether it's commercial, whether it's residential, will continue to increase, which has been doing for the last 30 plus years. Another great aspect of the E2 visa investment is that it's a quick visa to prepare. Unlike other visas that might take several months to start and complete the process, once a individual has, well, I would say, the requisite amount of investment properties, 4 or more residential properties, maybe 1 commercial property. Once we have all the financial statements, once it's been properly designated as a type of, once it's been properly titled as being under the single entity, legal entity, like an LLC and a corporation, it's a very quick application to prepare. And the other great aspect of an E2 investment visa is that it provides asset protection for an investor. And that is one thing that I've noticed with investors here, especially foreign nationals investing in the United States, is they will purchase a property underneath their own individual name. The downside of that is that it opens up a whole host of liability for an investor if it were to go wrong. The way we set up these investment properties is we typically will create a holding company, and under the holding company we'll create one different legal entity to hold each individual property, so that any type of liability from one property does not spill out into creating a liability for the other properties, therefore providing asset protection for the individual investor. The downside of doing an E2 visa is that it's difficult to get a legal permanent resident or a green card. The reason being is, for the most part, the green card process is not intended for an E2 real estate investment visa, unless we're talking about an L1, which I'll get to here in a minute. The another downside of the E2 visa is that children of the investor and the spouse will eventually age out. Once they hit age 21, they can no longer maintain their status as an E2 visa dependent. Once that happens, they have to go either find a different type of visa, more often than not a student visa, a work visa, or go back to their home country. But every case is different, and so there may be different options that we're not considering here, at least in this particular webinar. And again, the other downside of this type of visa is that you have to maintain the type of business. So let's say a person from Central America, from one of the European countries, invests in the U.S., purchases 8, 9, 10 different real estate properties, but for one reason or another, after they get their visa, they have to sell the properties to raise capital for some other type of investment deal that they have going in their own country or in a different business venture here in the U.S. So once the properties are being sold and they're no longer investment properties, the investment visa will not be renewed. The person can continue to maintain their visa so long as the visa hasn't expired, but once it comes time to renew and demonstrate to the immigration officer that the investment is still here in the U.S., it's going to be denied. You can always purchase properties, you can always sell properties, but when it comes time to renewing, you need to have at least a sufficient number of real estate properties in the portfolio in order to maintain that type of visa. But it's a straightforward application. It's an easy way to come to the U.S. It's an easy way to get work experience here. It's an easy way for children to go to school here, whether public school or private school. L1 visa is an interesting aspect of real estate, immigration through real estate. We have clients who have real estate management companies in their home country. People in Cancun, people in Veracruz, people in Puerto Vallarta who have multiple properties that they maintain under some type of holding that they have in their home country, like an SA de Servet. So they have already demonstrated knowledge of handling real estate investment properties. And if they're looking to expand, they can actually create a brand new company from their home country, wherever that happens to be, whether Mexico, whether Canada, whether somewhere in Central America, their home country, and they're opening a new company here in the U.S. So let's say they have investment properties in Cancun, Mexico. Let's just go with that for the moment as an example. They want to expand their reach. They want to invest here in the U.S. They open up their new company as a holding company, just like we're doing for the E2, and then buying additional properties, which we put as subsidiaries. So essentially what we're doing is we're transferring the owner from their home country to here, and that's called an L1A visa transfer. The L1A's requirements is that the person must be in a management position for at least 1 full year, that is 12 months, in the last 36 months in their home country, and that they have a real and existing business in their home country, which can be demonstrated through tax returns, through an organizational chart, through brochures, through letters of references from customers or clients that they handle. And they essentially want to do the exact same thing here underneath the same type of legal structures. So a parent company is to a subsidiary. Once they're able to do that, open a business, have an office, have staff, that visa is initially good for 1 year. Then it's good for 2 years, and 2 years, and 2 years, for a total of 7 years. The benefit of this visa is that while assets do increase in value, it does provide a possibility of having a green card. For at least purposes of this demonstration, the green card requirements are the same as the L1 requirements. That is, there is a company that the foreign national works for in their home country. The person is working in a management position, and that the company does have employees, does have sufficient assets, has sufficient reasons for having a company here in the U.S. that's doing exactly more or less the same type of work. In this instance, real estate investment. While the individual is is working within their business, working in real estate management, the spouse can also get work authorization, just like in the E2 visa. And again, just like in the E2 visa, the spouse does not have to work in the same business. They can work for Baker Hughes, Shell. It doesn't matter. And on top of all that, there is no requirement to do there's no requirement for the spouse to actually work whatsoever. If the spouse chooses not to, that's fine. There's no requirement by immigration. And just as much, the children of the investor and the spouse can come to the U.S. under the same type of visa. They can go to school, elementary school, middle school, high school, university, until age 21. Once they hit age 21, they age out, which is, again, a downside that you'll see here with the E2 visa. The difference being is that as soon as the individual comes here in L1, as soon as they have sufficient staff, as soon as they have sufficient real estate investment, it's easier to apply for a green card, which once the investor applies for a green card and obtains it, everybody else in the family will obtain it, so long as either it's the spouse or children under age 21. If the green card comes after a child turns to age 21, the child is unfortunately out of luck. The downside of doing the L1 visa is that it requires heavy capital investment. So the person already has to have some type of real estate investment in their home country, and then they are doing a real estate investment here in the U.S. So it's capital intensive. Not everybody has that much money to invest here in the U.S. The capital doesn't necessarily have to be cash from the investor in terms of their own cash. They can still take out loans. That's still allowable for both the E2 visa purpose and the L1. But the other downside is that the documents must be translated, all documents must be translated into English from whatever home country they're from. So L1 starts here in the United States. We file with Immigration Services. All documentation must be in English. So it's in Hindi, it's in Spanish, it's in French, it's in Mandarin Chinese. all of that has to be translated. But once the L1 is approved, the L1 visa is typically picked up in their home country. The E2 can be done here in the U.S. as a change of status, or it can be done as a visa application at the U.S. Embassy or consulate, whatever the rules are for that particular country. So the entire purpose of this quick webinar is to provide some information about how people can get a non-immigrant visa through real estate investment under an E2, or an L1 visa, which can eventually turn into a green card. But of course, all of that is based on the specific facts and circumstances of each individual case. If you have any individual questions, if you'd like to set up a consult, please give us a call at 281-205-8540. Again, my name is Luis Hess. Thank you very much for attending today's webinar. Any feedback that you can provide, I'd certainly like to hear so that we can improve on future webinars that we'll be hosting in the future. And I appreciate your attendance today. Again, my name is Luis Hess. Telephone number is 281-205-8540. And if you have any questions, please give us a call and we'll be happy to help. Thank you.